live over on TikTok, live on YouTube and LinkedIn. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Craig Stager here. So I wanted to do a quick live stream um, for those of you that are out there right now. So I just got done recording a podcast episode. It was a video podcast with someone who reached out to me on LinkedIn, and he has a company that does social media video production for people, and so he reached out to me, and I agreed to do an interview with him. Um, and one of the things that we were talking about was sort of off the record was, you know, what should lawyers? So let's just talk about lawyers since I'm a lawyer, and those are my people. Why are more people not on social media, and what would you tell them? And um, what I said is, from when I was a young lawyer, you really didn't have to advertise. You didn't have to market, or we didn't. There was definitely attorneys and firms that were ahead of us, but we really didn't have to market. Our reputation was there. Basically, you just had to be a good, hard-working attorney. People would appreciate the work you did, and then more work would come in. And generally speaking, that is kind of the case. But I really think in the last few years, that has stopped being the case. Is people use TV, or the Yellow Pages. We haven't had a Yellow Pages ad in a long, long time. As people started going online, and there became a lot more competition online. It used to be you could just have a website, put your firm's website up there, and people would search and find it. And that's not the case anymore. At least in the legal industry, there is just an incredible amount of monetary competition for at least the type of work I do, which is personal injury. Not so much on certain practice areas like estate planning and business, and maybe even divorce law. But in the work that I do, which is personal injury work, it is extremely competitive. I mean, when I do a little bit of everything. I do video, I do web content, do Google Business, stuff. And so I'm constantly checking my local market to see who's out there, who am I competing with. And some of them are local, and some of them are not local, and some of them are really not local. Like, they are doing paid ads from Florida for the types of cases that I'm trying to get. And I know, because I know these firms, I know they just have an incredible amount of money that they invest and spend on ads and web content, billboards, TV, things like that, that I cannot compete with, at least not now. And it's becoming more and more challenging to be competitive organically on Google, because of, well, just so much content's being generated. The models are shifting more and more towards the paid leads, and ads that show up on Google, and I don't do any of that. I haven't done any of that, and I don't know if I will. But it really makes it difficult. And now with the change in the AI models, it's even more and more difficult now, I think, to stand out organically. So you have to either pay to play, or you have to find another way to show up organically. And that's where I think social media is, at least right now, kind of the last frontier that you have to, where you can kind of do it on a DIY basis, without, at least without spending a ton of money. It does take time, but it doesn't take a ton of money to do this, right? I'm live streaming to TikTok. TikTok doesn't charge me anything. Live streaming to YouTube and LinkedIn, they don't charge me anything. The program I use, StreamYard, is not cheap, but it's not super expensive. It's just a matter of time, showing up and doing the work, and then doing the little things that you can do to try to you know maximize the stuff that you're putting out there. But there are very few lawyers that I know that are on social media at all, even just personally. They're just not on it. Um, I think that's a mistake for them, and it's a benefit to me. It's a mistake to them because most people, how many people are showing up? I've never met you before. You're on TikTok. You would never see me were it not for me going on TikTok, right? And that is, I think that, and that's true. I think for anyone that's got a business that you need to market, or you want to market, or you want to grow your audience, you know, video is the way to go, and not AI video. I think you need to be real, authentic video like I'm doing right now. And for a lot of people, it probably feels like it's already too late. And maybe in some markets it is, but I think for the most part, um, there's still plenty of opportunity, but I don't think that opportunity is going to be out there for long. And so on some platforms like YouTube, for example, it takes a while. I my own personal feeling, I've been doing YouTube pretty intensely for almost 3 years now, and it takes time to grow on YouTube, and to, for the algorithm to figure what you're good at and who the people are that need to see your stuff. TikTok is a little more, you can go on TikTok and you can get attention right away, but with TikTok you have to constantly be feeding it, whereas YouTube has more of the evergreen content. So every platform behaves a little differently, but you just got to get on video. TikTok has been historically the dancing videos. I don't dance. No one wants to see me dance. I'm just an average guy standing in front of a camera, live streaming and just talking about the things that are important to me. Now, I've developed a level of comfortability with being on camera and live streaming that I certainly didn't have when I started out. But you know what? When you start out, no one watches you anyway. So it is a great way to get comfortable by just getting on video and doing it before anyone is ever watching your stuff. And I would say, I would challenge people to start live streaming sooner rather than later, because I think live streaming in particular is probably the next thing that people need to really learn and do to separate yourself from everyone else that is out there. So I'm a big fan of live streaming even before anyone ever sees your stuff. But find the platform or platforms that work well for you. It's probably unlikely that you're going to be equally successful on all the different platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, X, Facebook, probably LinkedIn. Everyone behaves a little different. Everyone has a little different audience. For me personally, YouTube and TikTok have long been my best channels for the type of audience that I'm trying to reach. Um, and for different people, Instagram may be better. I've never been able to figure out Instagram, but YouTube and TikTok is just a matter of just starting and just keep going at it. So like right now, I'm using StreamYard to live stream to YouTube and TikTok. I'm sorry, YouTube and LinkedIn. I've got TikTok just streaming on my iPad here. No fancy camera. You don't need a lot of equipment, but it helps to have some stuff to make it easier. So like on those on YouTube and LinkedIn, I'm just using a basic 4K webcam. I am using the Rodecaster video to pull in the video and sound. You don't need that to start out, but eventually you might, right? TikTok is very simple. It's just an old iPad with the stock camera on it, stock mic. I do have a better mic, my Rode mic that's coming in through the Rodecaster, but that all takes time. You don't need that right away. But one of the things that really made the difference for me was when I started out, I was doing everything myself. I was doing the recording, I was doing the preparation, I was doing the editing, which was minimal, but I was doing the editing, I was uploading, I was coming up with titles, I was coming up with thumbnails. And if you are in a situation like me where your time is more limited than your money, then what you need to start thinking about is how do I free myself up from some of the time here? And there's a variety of ways to do that. One, you can do it through the help of, software. But a lot of times you're going to need help to get there. One of the first things that I did that made the biggest difference for me is I hired a virtual assistant. I have a Philippines part-time virtual assistant who does a lot of the behind the scenes, the uploading, and just getting stuff from recording to being ready, adding intros and things like that. That was a huge time saver for me, and I didn't even do it on my sort of business related content. It was purely personal, but it took time, right? And then I've gradually incorporated her into the business related content. And then I realized that I needed help trying to come up with the ideas and get them ready and think them through and plan and whatever. That creative part of it is something that kind of wears you out. It does for me. So I hired a part-time friend of mine who used to work for me, and then she's kind of helping with that, and that really made a difference because that allowed me to spend more time kind of doing the recording. I put out a lot of videos. I record a lot of videos across my channels now because I have help. And then probably the third thing that has made a huge difference for me is I was approached by um, company that they offer social media marketing and things like that, and they can do a sort of a turnkey thing for you where they'll just come out, they come up with the scripts, they record, and and then they take it back and they publish it for you. And some people need that, and if you need someone to do everything for you and you just want to show up and record, there are plenty of um, vendors, contractors, people, freelancers that will do that for you. Now, it could be a little challenging to find the right one for you, but they're definitely out there. But what I told them is that I don't really need help with like the editing and stuff, or at least the content generation and stuff. But they started talking to me about doing some of the video editing for me, and even though I was already offloading that to other people, when I took into account the amount of time that I had to spend in that, the amount of time that my staff was spending on it, and the amount that they were willing to do for the price, it was cost effective for me to hire, offload some of the video editing. It's 2 videos a day. Um, so to really start to scale up your social media, you have to get to the point where you can start delegating and paying people to do some of this stuff for you. I think some of it is easier and say more administrative than others. Once you get up into the where you're like deciding your topics and you're coming up with titles and thumbnails, those are things that I think either you want to find true professionals that do that, or you kind of need to learn it yourself and do it. But stuff in terms of just you know getting recording set up, downloading doing some of the basic edits, captions, things like that is something that you are going to want to get to a point where you start to delegate that. Otherwise, you're just going to, one of two things is going to happen probably. Number one, you're going to be limited in how much stuff you can do every week because there's only so much of you and to go around. And so you're just not going to be as productive as you want to be and need to be. And then second of all, maybe more likely, you're just going to give up. You're just going to quit because it's just a lot of work and you're not probably going to see a lot of return on that right away, depending on the platform you're on. And especially if you're doing it yourself, you're probably not as good as someone else could be. So there's a real high percentage of people that once they get doing this, they may do it for a few weeks or even a few months, but then they're like, well, I'm not getting anything out of this. It's too much time. Or you miss a week because something comes up, and then it's really hard to get back on it. Like all things, like exercising and dieting. But so that's why it's really, really important to find the things, the systems that work for you, that allow you to focus on the part of it that you really, really like, and then use other people to do the parts that maybe they're not quite as good as you, but if they're reasonably close as good as you have to take that, you have to take that jump and trust and pay other people to do that for you. And so that's what I really want to encourage people. If you there, it's it's never really been an easier time to get on social media and make video, high quality video, but the competition is growing, and the longer you wait, the further you're going to be behind your competition in whatever, whatever market it is that you're in. But don't wait much longer. Get started, start recording, find a platform that works for you. For me, it has always been YouTube and TikTok have just been the most natural fit for the type of videos that I do and the type of people that I'm trying to reach. Um, but get started on the YouTube because it takes a while to get that body of videos built up and to start building an audience. So don't wait. Get started on YouTube right away, and then stop. Don't pay attention to any of the results for at least 6 months, and then maybe pick another channel. Unless you're just going to go all in on YouTube, but maybe pick another channel. Maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's Facebook, maybe it's TikTok, and be committed to that. Post, short form content 5 days a week. More if more is better. But that it can be overwhelming. But if you take it one step at a time, and you can always reach out to me, leave me a comment, send me a message. I'm very happy to share, some of the stuff that I've learned along the way. I can certainly help you get there faster. If you need recommendations on, for some of these services that do some of this for you, I'm happy to put you in touch with them. I have a Slack group that I've started where I put a lot of the stuff in there, things that I've learned, interesting tips that I see on YouTube or whatever. I'll put those in the Slack group. If you're interested in being part of that, um, just go to the description or whatever and send me a message or leave a comment. I'll be happy to see if you're a fit for that. I'm not charging right now for anyone to get into the Slack group, but maybe at some point I will. That's a really good way to go in and ask questions and bounce ideas off. And right now, there's just not a ton of people in there. So it should be pretty easy for you to get those questions answered. So I hope that's helpful. If anyone has questions about that or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment or send me a message. Otherwise, get after it. Make a plan, pick a platform or two, and just start posting, and then just stick with it, and try to get yourself some momentum out there, and then you can start to work on ways to kind of enhance it and make it better as you get some experience. So I hope you all are doing great. I wish you luck on your own journeys, and if there's anything I can do for you, just let me know. Thanks, everyone.